In the early to mid-2000s, plug-and-play systems were all the rage. I owned a fair share myself, such as this Atari 2600 one, and also this SpongeBob Racing one. I also had a Toy Story one, but it's been lost to time. Perhaps I'll talk about this another day, but today I'm going to start at the bottom of the barrel with the Maxx Video Extreme 50-in-1. What makes this such a piece of junk? Well, it all starts with the controller. First, the Maxx Video Extreme. I'm really curious what the name could refer to. I can tell you firsthand there's nothing extreme about this thing's graphical capabilities. In case you couldn't guess, this is a Famiclone, a cheap plug-and-play made with Famicom spec hardware. Now, the Famicom, or NES, had some great looking games on it, but those were made by real developers. Games on these devices aren't even close. But that's just nitpicking. I have real complaints about the physical controller. It's more like a Fisher-Price toy you'd hand to a baby to make them think they're playing a video game. This joystick stinks. It's just bumpy, cheap, hard plastic. The Nintendo 64 had been out for 8 years. Did they not learn hard, cheap plastic thumbsticks are so grating on thumbs? And you heard me right earlier. 8 years after N64 was released puts us at being released in 2004. We had GameCube and PS2 and Xbox, but Scenario just had to put out this e-waste. But even if the stick was rubberized, it would still be terrible. It feels less like a thumbstick and more like a big wiggly button. And more importantly, since this console is just a NES on a chip, there's no way in hell this is analog. It's just a totally screwy D-pad. Why would they even bother putting this on here? Speaking of screwy D-pads, check out this green shield looking thing. You can also just press the whole thing down like a button. I can understand if you're trying to scam us with the joystick, you want to put a central pivot, but you couldn't give one to your actual D-pad? Face buttons are mediocre at best. 2 buttons and 2 turbo buttons. They have this weird matte, cheap feeling that I really don't like. Start and reset are down here, and they're a bit mushy and strange, but not too different from the old PlayStation ones. And then this dial. It's alright, but I really can't imagine using it too much. Scenario seemed to stick around for quite a few years after 2004, eventually pivoting away from plug-and-plays until seemingly closing down around 2013. Well, it's been over 10 years since they went out of business, and 20 since this got shoveled out. And this isn't even some crazy obscure device. There's quite a few videos of it on the internet. But it was a footnote in my childhood, so I think I have to give my own 2 cents on it. So with that, let's get into it. First game on the list is Fast Runner. You're this little car racing down the road trying to collect coins and gas to achieve a high score. It's just another speed racer type vertical racing type game, except when you crash, it reboots you right when you crashed, which is baloney. Second game is Rally Racer, a pole position or rad racer type game, but with motorbikes and this rather hideous background. I know it's NES hardware, but come on. Anyways, the majority of playing this game consists of just holding X, steering around other bikers, and listening to the ear-piercing sound of the engine. Overall, just a mediocre game you can get anywhere else. Next is Bullseye. This is one of those shmup type games, and this game shows the first example of how overpowered the turbo buttons are. You can just hold it down and obliterate all the planes in your path. That is until these circling bastards appear and immediately take you out no matter what. Next game. This is Space Warp, another shmup, but more in the style of a game like Gradius or Life Force. You just mindlessly blast through the enemies till you get the upgrade and fight the boss. Afterwards, you can literally blast mindlessly. You can stay right in the middle of the screen and spray lasers in all directions and stay unbeatable, presumably indefinitely, and the levels loop forever. Lame. Game 5. God, there's 45 more of these. Game 5 is called Critters, and you play as a net, which moves like it's full of cement, and catch butterflies while avoiding bees, which always spawn in the same corner. Each butterfly you get rewards you with the message, "You get it!" Also, is it just me, or do those trees look a little familiar? I think it's time to move on. A unique game, but still sucky. Sixth game is called Pipe. I think the developers of this were hitting the crack pipe a little too hard while making it. You play as a marble in a tube in space, trying to collect the key to open the gate at the end, and all without touching the sides of the pipe. Sounds easy enough, but the controls are so slippery. You gain so much momentum and you can't just inch forward, whether that be due to the slippery physics or the garbage D-pad, and the second you touch the wall, the game just resets back to the start with no warning and no second chance. And you can try over and over again, but no amount of trial and error will let you proceed. Overall, pipe can get piped. Up next, we have Rollerboard. I haven't mentioned music up to this point, but most games have had alright music or just not bad enough to comment on music. But this game's just bugging me. It's just so intense for no reason. Anyways, this game you play as a marble again, and you have to roll into this one shiny hole. It actually controls and plays alright, but the puzzles are just a little too easy. But this one ain't bad. For Max standards. Then we have Trackball. This game is essentially Pipe if it didn't suck. Much like Pipe and Rollerboard, you play as a marble and have to roll to the end while also getting the key to open the gate. But instead of having to avoid the walls of a pipe, you only have to beat the time limit and avoid the TNT. The music also has a weird freezing stutter between stages, but it's not a huge deal. Okay, that's just bull. I can't advance without getting blown to smithereens. Might as well, there's nothing else to do. Ninth game is Sky Patrol. Oh, I wonder what this game could be. Of course, it's another aeroplane shooty game, but this one is much worse than the others. The sprites seem really teeny tiny compared to the other games, and they flash and flicker like crazy. It's also just as mindless. No thanks. Number 10, Race and Chase. Oh my god! So ignoring the corruption, you play as this red car and have to evade the 2 blue cars. And I think the goal is to collect all the red flags before the cars catch you? At least I think that's the goal. I get all the flags, but I always lose. Even when the cars don't catch me, I still lose. I'm not sure. Maybe I'm missing something, maybe the game is missing something. You saw the jumbled mess, but there's also a strange amount of lag, so I don't know. Even if it worked, it would probably still not be great. At game 11, we have Jungle Protector. And oh great, looks like it's just another shmup. Well, that was weird. I'll just reset and... Okay, so we're not playing that one. Let's just move on to North Territory and... Okay, so upon doing some further research, I've discovered that my unit is most likely malfunctioning, because reviews online show all these games running perfectly. Well, perfectly. So, while that might not be the fault of the console directly, how crappy are these things that they're already digitally rotting after only 20 years? Well, the 13th game is called Get Home, and you play as penguins, and it's much more complex. Seems to have a password system and even a story. Penguin, Kiki, and Lily very happily in the comfortable home. But one day, they were seized by a dreadful monster, and here cast into the deep forest, which is full of picks and monsters. To escape from the forest, they need to go through lots of difficulty to find the way back home. Well, you start in the deep forest as Kiki, or maybe Lily, and you pretty much wander through the labyrinth that is these woods. Also not sure if the game is facing corruption issues or if it just looks like it. I'm also not sure what I'm supposed to do. Just wander through the forest throwing balls at frogs and... Pidgey? Is that a Pidgey from Pokemon? I think I ran out of balls and have no clue what to do. Anyway, the game looked cute, but it sucks. Game 14, Solaria, and it's another corrupted ROM. Next. Game 15 is called Firefighter, but it's also broken, freezing before even any of the sprites could load in. Game 16, we have Speed Racer, with the actual Speed Racer from the anime. I imagine they must have actually had the Speed Racer license, as they advertised it on the box and include them in tons of games on here. It doesn't really matter anyways, as this is just Rally Racer again, but now with some twists and turns. It says there's 4 stages, but only the first works, the others just freeze. This is only the first page and there's already so many dupes or just reskins of other games. Also, I think the console is starting to degrade even further. My video capture device is working fine, so is my TV, so all these distortion effects are straight from the Maxx. Next game and next page, thank goodness. Game 17, Bounce, and in this one you're playing tennis with a robot, and you're trying to hit these panels to flip them around. I think you're supposed to aim the ball by pointing the D-pad in the direction you want and then pressing the X button, but it only worked for the first few hits till the ball started doing whatever it wanted. This game is unique and kinda cool, but really not much better than other games on here. Game 18, Off-Road Racer. Another vertical 2D racer, but this one is way less functional. There's so much on screen, the controls suck, the physics suck, and this game sucks. Number 19, Challenge 100. Hey, that's that Hello Kitty frog. Honestly, this game is pretty good. You play as copyright infringement and have to fall down platforms, trying not to miss, which causes you to lose. Touching the spiky platforms are okay as long as you have enough health, which you get from landing on regular platforms. It's not without faults though. The screen moves a little too fast compared to how slow you move. Still, this is a game that I would consider coming back to play on any other device. Game 20, Crazy Hit. I thought this game was broken, but it turns out like Bounce, you use the D-pad and the X button in tandem. Point the D-pad where you want to hit, then press the button. Works pretty well and only has the occasional miss. For a Whack-A-Mole NES game, it's pretty good. Wow, Versus Max is on a roll. Maybe we got past the trash and now it's just gonna be a bunch of fun time killer games. Alright, next game up is Dump and Go. Great, another Speed Racer game. The Speed Racer seal of garbage strikes again as just another 3D type racer but with dump trucks. And for a game called Dump and Go, there is no dumping, besides the absolute dump of a game this is. Game 22, we have Elfland. This game is like Mario Bros. Cross Casper the Ghost cross paint-based puzzles. You play as this ghost character and have to paint yourself the color of the jesters and blobs you want to take out. You then have to touch them once to turn them into sheep angels, which drains some of your color. Then you have to touch them again to knock them out. You can either paint yourself again to go after another colored creature, or you can go after the same color with what energy you have left. It's a weird little game, but a good one. Game 23, Gears with Speed Racer. It's just another lame vertical 2D racer, but with a rather nice looking background. Game 24, Rocket Rider, and it's the same game! Next up is Pro Tennis. You'd think this would be a rehash of Bounce, but nope, it's a whole different, much worse game. It has nothing to do with tennis, and instead involves you sending a tennis ball up to higher and higher tennis, or more like badminton rackets, except the ball physics are so poor, and I think they knew this because they give you a ton of balls to waste. I don't know, I would have rather taken a dupe of Bounce. Game 26, Matching Tiles?
Anyways, it's a matching game, but it seems to have fake matches or something. It seems some blocks should match, but don't. It's just not detailed enough to tell. I don't know. I don't care. Game 27, Pickwick, and this one crashed the whole console, all the way back to the title screen. Game 28, Towers. Wait, okay, so this is not the same game as Challenge 100. Instead of going down, you go up. And instead of being good, it's bad. You automatically move from side to side and just have to hold the X button to power up your jump before releasing. And if you want to switch the direction, you're gonna have to hit a wall. Unfortunately, you move so slowly when you walk, and your jumps don't happen in time you need them to. And what's this? What did I bump my head on? This frog game sucks. Game 29, Pet Shop. This one's a real doozy. You play as a cat and are at war with this dog across the fence who is trying to throw tennis balls at you. Your goal is to knock out the dog with tennis balls before it knocks you out, while also checking which direction the wind is blowing. I don't think the wind mechanic really works, it just feels like an excuse for your ball to do whatever it feels like. Oh, but not the computers. The computer just pelts you with pinpoint accuracy nearly every time while you struggle with all your might to just get a couple, hell, just one hit in. Also, this game not having a multiplayer mode was a missed opportunity, but I wouldn't have used it anyway, so who cares. Still, this is a contender for the worst game on the console. Game 30, Push the Ball, and it's a black screen.
You know, it's honestly a bit of a blessing and a curse each time I get an intermission like this.
Game 31, Pro Boat Racing. Oh great, another speed racer game. Well, let's get it over with. Blue?
That's Blue, or Gary, or whatever you named your rival in Pokemon. And look at those houses. Why did they lift so much from the Game Boy games?
There's these other houses which look like they came from Harvest Moon, and Cuckoos, and Eevees. This game probably takes the cake for the most stolen assets. It wouldn't surprise me if there's more and I'm just not identifying them. Besides that, it's just another vertical racer, but with boats that control just like cars. Game 32, Right Spot. You have these multicolored bars of soap and according colored spots, and you have to move them around between the spaces to get them in their correct ones. It's a pretty neat game, but I got stuck at stage 2 and then...
What even happened? The machine is going haywire now. I have to turn it off and turn it back on again. Well, maybe the games will look less fuzzy from here on out.
Game 33 is called Attack, and it's just a Space Invaders ripoff. You're a spaceship shooting at red, green, and 2 sets of purple amoebae, trying to protect these mushroom houses. Unfortunately, this is a really bad Space Invaders ripoff. When you get hit, the stage resets, so even if you've wiped out half the aliens, you start the screen over, restoring your mushrooms, but also all the aliens. What makes this even worse is you shoot incredibly slow compared to the aliens, meaning you'll have to fully rely on taking cover under your mushrooms. And worst of all, there's a live system. 3 tries and you get a game over screen. Why would they give you a live system but not have the lives continue you from where you died? Game 34 is Big Rig Racing. Uh-oh. Big Rig Racing? Like, no. It's unrelated as far as I can tell. But it's just another vertical racer with stolen Game Boy assets. Jesus, 5 of them? A whole 10th of this collection is the same game. Game 35, Safety Watch. This is less of a game and more of a screensaver. No matter what I press, it won't start. But maybe this giant green Robodog in the sunset next to the word exit is plenty. Game 36, Roll 'em. This game is a Make Tracks ripoff. Now, I've never played that game, but it seems like if Pac-Man and Clu Clu Land made love, and Make Tracks was birthed from it. You play as this pink thingy trying to cover all the land, all the while these 2 ghostly apparitions try to stop you, by chasing you around all over this horrific environment with demonic teddy bears and bunny rabbits and human baby caterpillar crossbreeds. Your only way to fight back is by leading them to these rollers and rolling them down. Too bad they cheat. In a game like Pac-Man, the ghosts all have different personalities, or ways they chase after you. This keeps it unique, but also no 2 ghosts mercilessly hunt you down. Unlike these 2, which will chase you the whole time and corner you no matter what. And every time you turn a corner, you are slowed down, meaning if a ghost is right behind you, you're screwed no matter what. And these rollers barely work either. You can't roll 2 in a row down, and since they both chase you, killing one will lead to you being killed. So your only hope at winning is clearing land like hell before the demons are released and inevitably kill you. These aren't original games, how do they keep screwing them up? Game 37, Road Builder. One of those puzzle games where you have a set number of paths and have to link them in order, but I'm getting too tired to even solve the first stage. It seems fine though. Game 38, Egg Catch. Sounded interesting, but all I got was a green screen. Game 39, Flying Targets. At first, I was sure this game wasn't working. It seemed simple enough, the clay pigeons passed by the targets, and I was pressing X, but they were rarely hitting, till eventually I pressed the D-pad and the X button, and then the shots were hitting.
All these games seem to only use the stick and 1 button. These could be played with an Atari controller. Why did they even bother having 2 buttons?
Game 40, Dragons.
That sounds sick. Dragons? A game about dragons? What could that be about? Maybe it's like an adventure game, you know, like that Penguin game where it's a bit more complex. And maybe you fight a dragon at the end or something. Or maybe it's like a boss battle style game where you fight a dragon or multiple dragons. Because there's only one way to find out.
A silent, foreboding black screen?
Wow, this is serious. Did they really put some sort of medieval, maybe possibly Zelda-inspired adventure game in here? They stole so much from Link's Awakening it wouldn't shock me. The suspense is killing me. I'm a little scared to tell you the truth. I assume we'll be here forever until I press start. Oh, here it goes. Let's see these goddamn dragons.
It's Snake. It's just Snake.
It's just Snake? It's just Snake? How do they have the audacity to call Snake dragons? What is so dragons about this? All I see is one snake and no dragons. And you just go around, what, eating fire? Wait, you eat fire? So you're a dragon that goes around eating fire. What dragons eat fire? They breathe fire. Do the developers even know what dragons are?
Besides the tragic misdirection, it's a fine Snake game. It controls well, looks well, and plays well. Well, it did until it crashed. Game 41, Solitaire. It's just Solitaire. With grating music. I feel like Solitaire should have calming music, or just no music at all. Whatever. Game 42, Trophy Fishing. You play as a grabby hand thingy, grabbing up Magikarp-looking fish while avoiding bomb fish that explode. It's an alright arcadey type game, but I haven't much to say about it. Game 43, Golden Arrow, and it crashed. Game 44, Grass Cutter. This might be the best on the system. You play as someone mowing the lawn, and have to mow all of your lawn before time runs out. All the while the occasional rain cloud comes in and undoes a patch of your work. I honestly like this one quite a bit, which is pretty sad when one of the best games on the console is yard work. Game 45, Big Workload. Another fun game about manual labor. You push all the boxes into their spots without getting them stuck. I got stuck on the second level though and gave up. Game 46, Sea Hunt. Another kind of fun one. You play as a battleship and drop bombs underwater, hitting submarines and big fish? Whatever. It's alright. Game 47, Snoot. Wait, Snood? That's a real game!
I own this on GBA! I can't believe it got a plug-and-play port.
So for those who don't know what Snood is...
Well, I guess I beat the first 3 stages.
Anyways, Snood is a puzzle game where you shoot these zany looking guys at their fellow zany looking guys to match them up. Snood is an okay game on GBA, but here it's just putrid. The Snoods never seem to shoot where you want them to go, even if you have it lined up perfect. Well, maybe this is the best they could do for the hardware, but if it was, maybe they shouldn't have even bothered. Game 48, Snood Towers. 2 Snood games? Oh, cause the first was just so perfect. And would you believe this one works even less? The cursor didn't load the first time, so I had to reset the game. And then the cursor loaded, but nothing happened. Then I tried again and the cursor disappeared again. What the hell? Game 49, Super Surfing. And it's a blue screen of death. Game 50, Puzzle Fun. This is one of those tangram, puzzle games? It's fine, but I was never good at them. I could barely do one. Probably because these past 50 games have rotted my brain to applesauce. But what's crazy is there's seemingly 54 unique puzzles, and they all seem to work, so good for them. And good for me, because now I'm done.
Anyway, that was the Versus Maxx Video Extreme. And while on its own it really wasn't anything crazy noteworthy, I think it perfectly represents all these Famiclone consoles rolled into one. Shitty controls, shitty games, stolen characters, stolen ideas, just an overall lack of caring for all but profiting off crap. Other Versus Maxx consoles seem to only have around 25 games in one, and while I don't know what the games on those are like, I know the games on here, and half of them are just reskins or rehashes of games on here. So, just to wrap it up, if you're ever at a thrift store or searching on eBay, and you see a little plug and play with this logo, just stay away, it's not worth it. Why did they call it dragons?